I'm really not. I think we spoke about this on this network when the charges initially came down, and there was a great deal of controversy and, frankly, anger that Officer Chauvin was not charged with first-degree murder. The problem that we see in a lot of these high-profile prosecutions is they overcharge. So you could not prove that Chauvin intended to murder George Floyd, but certainly the videotape was clear and compelling and irrevocable evidence that he acted in a dangerous manner with disregard for the life of George Floyd. This is a remarkable case for a lot of reasons. It's very sad, it's very striking, it's hard to watch, but what the jury watched was the man die before their very eyes. And that's compelling. You can't turn away from that. This verdict does not surprise me at all. It was properly charged, it was well tried, and it's just. And it's justice, and America should be proud. It's good to see people, not only are they celebrating, but they're celebrating our justice system. And it's good to see them invested in the justice system. That's what we all need as Americans, is to invest ourselves in the justice system, because it's there for all of us. Well, you heard him talk about the Blakely factors. The Blakely factors are from a landmark Supreme Court case which said that the Sixth Amendment requires that a convicted defendant, when arriving at his sentence, the judge cannot consider anything that either was not admitted by the defendant or the jury considered in the deliberations arriving at his guilt. So the judge has to look at the factors in the trial and can't go beyond that in arriving at a sentence. Secondarily, he mentioned something called a PSI. That's a pre-sentence investigation. It'll go into all aspects of Mr. Chauvin's life. I expect a great deal will be made about his meritorious service and how he was a public servant. And the judge will consider and evaluate all of these factors in arriving at a due and just sentence. And that's what judges do. This is a very, very good judge. I have experience with him. I've actually tried cases in Hennepin County. And I believe he will get the sentence correct. I believe, it's just a guess, but he will probably sentence on the upper range. For the first count, second-degree murder, it's up to 40 years. For the second count, third-degree murder is 25 years, and then manslaughter is 10 years. Now, those sentences are likely to be served concurrently, meaning if he gets 35 years for second-degree murder, he's probably not going to get any additional time because this is all the same operative act. But I believe that this judge will be specifically, and I think he's known for that, specifically tough on convicted criminals. I used to work for a federal court judge. I used to say if I was ever accused of anything, I would want him to be my trial judge. And if I was ever convicted of anything, I would want anybody on the planet other than him to be my trial judge. And I think this judge is like that. He did a great job with the trial. He was very indulgent, but I think he's going to be very tough, and appropriately so. You know, perhaps I'm a little bit optimistic or a bit of a Pollyanna. I think it will. I don't think any municipality, county, or state can now condone inoperative or the non-use of body cams. We need to know what happened, and that silent witness is what convinced everybody and swung this case. I think this sends a message to police officers. There's a way to do this. No one should die because they arguably passed a counterfeit $20 bill, if that even happened. They don't get to hand out death penalties. But it will also protect the police force when they do the right thing. There are always going to be rogue police officers, but most of them are good. And I think this shows that no one is above the law, no one is above justice. And again, I think this shows that the African-American community and communities of color and minority communities, including mine, need to be invested. Sometimes the verdict goes the way you want it, sometimes it doesn't. But being invested, remember this, remember how this felt. It's not a victory. It's the system working for you, for every one of us that live in this country. And that's what needs to be reinforced. That's what needs to be the central factor here. It's not a celebration. No one won. A man died in a horrible way. The country was torn apart. But we heal because we have the great judicial system. That's the envy of the world. Very well put. It was an arrogance that is unimaginable in retrospect. It's an arrogance and a disregard. It treated George Floyd as though he didn't matter. His life meant nothing. And any police officer that goes to work with that attitude, that the people that they're meant to protect and serve are meaningless, needs to stop being a police officer. But now on the other side, police officers every day have people coming at them, presenting danger to them. Some someone's going to want to kill them pretty much every day. And a lot of times in these communities, those people that want to kill the police officers, commit the crimes, commit the violence, look the same. So there has to be a meeting in the middle. But at no point in time can any police officer cross the Rubicon and become the criminal because he has a complete or she has a complete disregard and disdain for the value and sanctity of human rights and human life. That cannot be permitted to happen, because that's when the police officer becomes the criminal. And that is what we saw here, and I think there's a message in that. I'm hopeful.